Welcome to NIB's Worldwide Business Case Competition of 2014. The consultancy team presenting is from the Lahti University. The presentation will last 20 minutes and I'm your timekeeper. I will show you a piece of paper, which means you have 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes and 1 minute. When you notice me, if you can nod so I know. And judges, you also have 10 minutes for your Q&A. I will show you a piece of paper for 5, 3 and 1 if you can nod. Just to let you know, as soon as I show 1 minute and your 1 minute is up, I will stop you whether you have finished or not. Judges, if you now would like to introduce yourself, and then after your presentation can start.
I'm Peter Blows.
I'm V. Rose, chairing this session.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen from Tennessee Valley Authority. My name is Isa, and this is my team. We're from Lam Consultant Group. And today, we are here to help you face the new challenges as well as present our vision for your future. So let's have a look at today's agenda. So first, I will briefly introduce the key issue, and after that, several analyses. And then my friend Elisa here will continue with the alternative as well as our recommendation. Sebastian will carry on with our detailed implementation plan, and finally, Hao will be in charge of financial analysis. So now we shall begin with the key issue. So the TVA has been operating for many years, and now, like I have mentioned before, many challenges have been coming one after another. So here we are today to help you strengthen your sustainability. And in order to do that, we'll help you determine your capital investment plan as well as keep your price competitiveness. And now we look into the analysis. First one in the industrial analysis. So here I have the Porter 5 forces with the 5 forces on the screen, but I want to address the most is the power of buyer over there is medium. We have to, in one sense, the buyer here, they are somewhat price taker, but here in the United States, they have some power for themselves. They have customer rights and they have customer benefits. So if they feel unsatisfied or unfair, they might raise their voice. And another one I want to address is the rivalry. The competition between competitors is high because there are many big players out there. They are committed. They know what they're doing. They also want to keep their price as low as possible. And the electricity industry itself is kind of complicated. So here I want to address a bit more about the key success factor. Electricity can't be stored, that's one big problem. And the demand, it changes a lot. It varies by season, it varies by the time of the day. And one more thing is the income gap. It affects a lot about our pricing strategy. We have to address that very sensitively. And another thing is this industry comes with high environmental and social responsibility. We want to remind you about that. And moving on, we talk about the internal analysis. So here I have is the summary and also the comparison between the power generation alternative you already have. And after assessment of the key issue and key success factor, we acquire that natural gas as well as the solar energy are the source of power that has the most potential for growth. And last but not least is the SWOT analysis. First is your strength. So your strength is your experience, your know-how, as well as your position as one of the market leader. And what needs to improve is your capacity. It has been quite inadequate. And the fact that you have to outsource 11% of the power needed has somewhat indicates that improvement needs to improve. That's it. So what the external environment gives you? First is the opportunity. Increase in disposable income, meaning like the consumer themselves might want to pay a bit more for the price, and technological advancement might help with the productivity and efficiency of the power generation process. And climate change in some sense, it can be opportunities, but on the other hand, it will be a huge threat for our companies. And decrease in disposable income, natural disaster is also considerable threat as well. So that concludes my part. Now, Elisa, my friend, will continue with alternative and recommendation.
Thank you, Lisa. So in order to answer the key issue, we provide you with 3 possible solutions. Let's see the first one. So the first alternative that we present to you is that you differentiate your pricing system so that the people with high-end income and the low-end income pay the different price for the power that they get. This will give you the profit, and also there are no additional costs because you don't need to invest in anything new. However, for the sustainability, which is important to your company, this isn't the best solution, and also this only offers you the short-term solution which you are not looking for. The second alternative is that you stick with your current production, but you educate your customers so that the demand it isn't based on the peak hours of the day, and it's more equally divided during the day. This is positive for the cost because there is no additional investment, and also the relying on others. Risks are limited because of your know-how. Profit, however, will stay as it is. It won't grow with the same production that you have now. It's likely that it will stay just the same. Also for sustainability, as you are now not using the maximum potential of renewable energy sources, it's not the best solution for sustainability. As for the last alternative, we have that you increase your own production and thus increasing the sustainability. This means that you don't need to rely on other power producers anymore. Also, this will give you the profit. Sustainability, this is a long-term solution for you. However, it requires investments, especially to the renewables. And the costs, they will rise because of the investments that you need to make to the new production plants. Also, reliability on renewables is still a bit of a question, but we shall see how the future turns out. So our recommendation is based on the decision-making matrix. On the horizontal axis, on the very top of the table, you can see the objective, weight, and alternatives. The objectives are profit, cost, sustainability, and risks. Each objective is weighted based on the importance of the objective. Each alternative is given a scale between 1 and 5, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. As you are a company and you want to make profit, we scaled or weighted the profit to be the highest. But since you are looking for long-term solutions and sustainability is really important to your company, we weighted the sustainability to be the same with the costs. And finally, you can see that the alternative 3 scores the best points, and that is our recommendation. So we recommend that you increase your own production and thus increase your sustainability. My friend Sebastian will continue what it means in practice.
Thank you, Elisa. So we have formulated an implementation plan for your company, and it is divided to 3 different parts. Firstly, the short-term implementation. If you can change the slide.
Just one moment.
Firstly, the short-term implementation. After that comes the mid-term implementation part, and finally the long-term implementation. And let's start with the short-term implementation. Some objectives to be achieved in the short-term part is clarifying the vision of your company, preparation of production plans and designs, and also conducting market research and research and development. In the mid-term part, it's also it's important to start part of your production plans and carry out marketing, as well as train your employees, as well as offer training for your customers. In the long-term part, it's important that you evaluate your strategy and make changes if needed. It's also important to continue the market research and development, and develop continuously your operations. So let's go to the more detailed short-term implementation part. So firstly, as mentioned, you should clarify the vision of Tennessee Valley Authority. The aim, what we recommend for your company, is that you increase your own production and maintain the low prices for your customers. The dependence on fossil fuels should be reduced, and the sustainability should be also improved in your company. It's also important that you lose the dependence on other energy producers, and you use only the other producers when there is an urgent need for energy. So the current energy capacity of your company is approximately 37,188 megawatts. The estimated capacity need in 2018, which is the end of our implementation plan, is 39,084 megawatts. You have to also take into account the demand growth, which is estimated to be 1%. That also part of your coal plants will be replaced and retiring during that implementation period. So you have to be also prepared to build at least 2,835 megawatts extra capacity. We recommend that your company should build 5 natural gas plants, 5 solar installations, and 2 wind farms. The estimated costs for this investment is approximately $4.78 billion US, and you should get the funding through 30-year bonds. It's also very important that you start preparing for the new production sites and you start designing the plants. It's also very important that you make research for the best location for the wind farm and solar installations. You should also start training your staff and to ensure the sustainable future of your company, as well as improve the employee loyalty. Let's continue with the action plan. So in short term, it's divided to short term, mid term and long term, and it's illustrating which actions are taking place in which part of the implementation plan. So in the short term, it's important to do the market research, and based on the market research, you should act in the midterm. So of course, important that you do it continuously and you continue the research on the long term. The research and development on production and technology and education has to be also conducted in the short term. It's very important that you are aware of all the newest technology available for your company. And it's also important that you educate your staff that they can answer to your customer needs in the best possible way. It's also important that you let your consumers know how they can save energy and how they can also improve their sustainability. It's also important that you market your products in a traditional way for your customers, so sending leaflets and brochures for your customers, as well as email messages and positive phone calls, and tell about your product offerings. Let's continue further to the midterm. In the midterm, you should start building the designed production units. So for the wind farms and solar power plants, the estimated production or the building phase is 1 year, and for the natural gas plants, it is taking approximately 2.5 years. The aim of our implementation is that the natural gas plants will cover the base load and peak electricity, and they also provide a lower environmental impacts as well as efficiency compared to the coal plants. It's also the benefit of the natural gas plants is that they are also agile. You can start and stop the production and you can base the it's agile, so you can react to demand changes very quickly. You can also avoid trials and environmental disasters with the natural gas plants because they are not such a threat for the environment. The downside of the coal plants is, of course, the price volatility, and we recommend that you try to lock the prices with the suppliers. And for the wind farms and solar stations, the aim is that you decrease the dependency on fossil fuels, and they should have a more important part of your company energy production. It's also important that you develop a demand-based pricing system, that it gives an incentive for your customers to reduce consumption in peak times. It's also important that you carry out the prepared marketing and the training of your consumers. And we estimate that with this training, the peak time consumption will decrease by approximately 5%. Let's continue with the long-term implementation still, and it's the time to start the new production plants, and it is very important that you cover your base load with gas and nuclear stations. It's also important that you evaluate the actions and stay agile to industrial changes. And you have to be ahead of competition by technical development and market research. You have to know also what your customers need and want, and how the industry is changing. Is it also so that in the future the renewables will be so important? And you have to be aware of all sorts of changes in demand. It's also important that you maintain the reliable supply of electricity and decrease the peak time demand through pricing solutions. And it's also important that you manage the land and enhance the relationship with the state governments and continue the cooperation in financial development. So after this 5 years implementation plan, your company will have an improved capacity and you will have also a lower dependency on fossil fuels. So thank you, and this was all about my part, and Hao will be telling more about the detailed financial analysis.
Thank you, Sebastian. Based on the initial objectives of our key issue of defining how much of the capital investment that we need, and also based on the objective of the implementation plan of improving our capacity of producing energy. This financial analysis part will try to answer those two questions. This first slide, it gives you a reminder of how much per plant that comes with different type of energy generation. We can see that the nuclear plant costs the most, but it actually comes with the risk of a certificate because of the nuclear issue, and also the coal, it can come with the issue of pollution. So based on the implementation plan, we will go with the natural gas, solar, and wind energy plants. And then next slide, we have some kind of estimation for your company of energy generation capacity with the current capacity of 37,188 megawatts, and also together with the annual growth of 1% every year. We calculate the total demand in the next 5 years until 2018. That would be roughly 40,000 megawatts that's needed with the market in the next 5 years. So we have some calculation, and also together with the closing down of the current 2 coal plants, we have an estimation of capacity that needs to cover, that is 2,835 megawatts. And that together with the excessive capacity, 1,896 megawatts. And in the next slide, we will provide you with the number of the suggested new plants that we suggest for your company to build more. We suggest the natural gas plants of 5 size, solar energy 5 size, and also the wind energy 2 size. And the total energy could be generated from those new size is 4,550 megawatts per year. So they are able to cover also the capacity of the current but soon to be replaced coal plants, and also the excess capacity that meets the demand of the market. So finally, the natural gas and nuclear accounts for 80% of the total energy generation, and the wind only accounts for, wind and solar accounts for 20%. So how much do we need for that 5 plants of natural gas and wind and solar energy? The total loan that we need to acquire is $4.78 billion, and we recommend your company to acquire the 30-year government bonds because that's the most efficient and also the most favorable bond that we can ever have. And now comes to the conclusion. We try to address you about our key issue that we want to address you about your sustainability in business. And we also provide you with a recommendation to increase your capacity in production. And the implementation plan should be conducted in 5 years in order to achieve the suggested capacity that needed. And the finally required capital investment is 4.78 billion US dollar with the 30-year governmental bonds. And now that comes to the end of our presentation, and it will be more pleasure to have your questions. Thank you.
Judges, your 10 minutes.
Peter, would you like to?
Yeah, one or two things. You went for alternative number 3, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. You didn't seem to mention prices with that one.
Might I repeat your question that we want to know the price of?
Well, the price to the consumer, you didn't seem to say much about that. That was one thing.
Was it a question?
This question,
Yeah, the question is, can you elaborate on the pricing strategy for alternative 3?
The pricing strategy is that we aim, or we recommend that your company is keeping the prices stable. And they should be affordable for your customers. Because in the Tennessee Valley and the area you operate in, it's also very important that for the economical development of that area, that the prices should be also lower. So that's why we mentioned that we recommend that you take the 30-year loan bond and you don't increase the prices and fund the investment in such way. Did that answer the question?
So so basically, you're not thinking of smart meters, obviously, or differential pricing for peak loads. Actual price would be higher for peak than the base.
Actually, I mentioned it briefly in the implementation plan. I may have not been clear enough. We recommend that your company has 2 pricing systems. The off-peak or the peak times would be more costly. And then you could also have the full-time pricing strategy, that you have the same price for all the hours, and then you have more pricey hours in the peak times. So this means that the customers could choose what sort of contract they do with your company. So if they, for example, wash their laundry during the night always, they can choose the off-peak strategy.
You talked briefly about the locations for the proposed sites, and I was wondering what kind of factors you think we should take into consideration when we're selecting those those sites, particularly in relation to the community and businesses in those areas.
Of course, the location is the key factor. So it is very important that you and we conduct together market research, and we choose what is the windiest location and what is the sunniest location. So it has to be based on solid factors.
And do you think that that's the primary consideration would be the, I suppose, where the sun is, where the wind is? Do you think there are any other factors that we should?
Of course, there are very many other factors. For example,
what do you think maybe the other 2, like if that's the primary one, what are the other 2?
Of course, the noise and how it affects, for example, the landscape. People don't want huge solar factories or plants next to their gardens. And of course, the noise is very important to take into consideration. So how it looks, where it's located, does it bother the local community?
Have you considered as a group how long it might take to get a return back on the 4.78 billion investment?
Thank you for your question. We plan to acquire, we are suggesting to acquire the 30-year governmental bond. So that also suggests the timeline for returning the back the loan. Yeah, we choose that longest period of loan just to make sure that you have enough time to gain your profit and also time to pay back the loan. So 30 years period is our suggestion.
Thank you. Could you tell me a little bit? I am concerned about the risks associated with, yes, a 30-year bond, but what would be the cost of that? Give me some idea of rates of interest that we're talking about. I don't think that your presentation covered that. Give us some idea.
may I repeat your question? Is that you want to know the risk come with the bond?
What costs would that be to my company in terms of taking out a 30-year bond? And what would be the alternatives?
If I may answer this question, your company is, we know that your company is available in acquiring cheap funding, so the interest rate is relatively affordable for your company. And the alternative would be, of course, to raise the prices, but that would come with a cost, and that would be not very beneficial for your company. And since you're able to get low interest funding, we recommend that you should take advantage of that.
What would that rate be? What would your estimation of that rate be? And what impacts do you think will a change in that rate have on the implementation plan?
You mean the interest rate, what sort of extra cost it would bring for paying back the loan?
So in case interest rates generally went up,
yes,
what impact would that have on our cash flow?
Of course.
On the project and on the time scale?
Of course, in the current time, the interest rates are very low, but we recommend that you are taking into consideration that when the economy is picking up, the interest rates will also be increasing. So we will provide you later with exact figures, but it's impossible to make estimations of the future interest rates, but you have to be prepared for several % increase in the interest rates in the future.
Can I come in with another question? Your solution suggests that there's an 80-20 split between natural gas and renewables. Can you give me some risk issues associated with that 80-20? Because that's the ultimate solution, is it? Can you give me some risk issues associated with that split? For example, you didn't mention anything about fracking.
Yes, we did have. The next one is our risk management here. And here we have assessed several risk issues. And I think there might be like the risk is the reliability of renewable sources, because it depends a lot on the nature itself, and the climate is changing a lot. So here we have the impact is high. So how we can mitigate that is we can extensive research and evaluation. Like my friend has mentioned before, like find the location that has the most potential and the least risk. Yes, that's why we have like extensive research. And another risk can be like natural disaster again, with the nature. So forecast and then improve your safety solutions.
Did you want to carry on the question?
It doesn't. I've got another question, but it's not probably ideal if you want to carry on.
Yeah. I'm just concerned a little bit about the natural gas resource and the idea of the fact that it's a depleting resource, which is a concern to us at TVA. And therefore, with a mix that just includes natural gas and nuclear power, or nor coal, I just want you to allay some of my concerns about the risks that would be involved in taking that relationship 80-20 natural gas.
I'm sorry, but can you please repeat the question
What I'm saying is that you've got, in advising us to actually consider an option for natural gas, right, 80%, a long-term option, and 20% renewables. What are the risks are you exposing us to? I am concerned.
So if I may answer these questions, the 80-20% is meaning the base electricity, and it is covered by your current nuclear stations and the new and the current gas stations. And the renewables are, that's an estimate of the future. So, of course, it's a risk for your company to be dependent on the natural resources, but then again, we advise that your company is not only dependent on nuclear stations, because it is very unsure if you will get the permit, and the building costs are massive, as well as the uncertainty will it be finished on time. So you have to maximize or take the best supplier relationship as you have and try to have fixed cost for your natural gas. Of course, you have to be also prepared for the changes in prices, because based on our figures which we were provided, we could see that always when the economy was picking up, the price of gas was also picking up. But so you have to be able to estimate the also the increase of the gas, and you have to be prepared. So monthly assessment of the future is very important for your company.
Thank you. Have you got time for another question?
No, it's finished now. Your 10 minutes is up. Yeah, just hold the 1 minute. Yeah, your time is up.
Thank you.